All right, what's up, my brothers? In this video, I've got a sponsored request from a gal who's married and has a question from her husband about a one-sided open marriage. Let me read this to you and I'll get into some feedback on it. I think this is a very interesting one, especially for the gals out there. She says, do you think if a husband who is a great provider and has been with his wife since high school that expresses a desire to have a one-sided open marriage can do so without falling in love with another woman? If a husband is telling his wife that it's just simply hooking up and meaningless in every other way, would you think the wife is naive to believe it? And I've got a link there to her social media. You can see pictures of her family, her travels, the life that she has, and she has a very good life. It's one of those Instagram perfect, social media sort of perfect lives that you see out there quite often that most people, women anyway, you know, that I've seen sort of pine for. It's like the ideal sort of picturesque, picture perfect sort of marriage or life, if I can put it that way. Beautiful children, they're happy, they travel, they've got little stories that are all organized in different categories with where they're traveling together all around the world. They're clearly very well off, there's no problem with money, and they're having a good time. And it sounds like she's got this concern about her husband wanting to essentially have a asymmetrical relationship, meaning it's open on his end, but it's still closed on her end, and she remains obligated and committed to him and the household and the family and the children, all that sort of stuff. And my answer to that question is yes. Men have the capability to essentially have no strings attached, no commitment type of relationships with women, even if they're married, and they've done it for a very long time. This is probably a little bit of a surprise to some of you guys out there watching this. Maybe you're newer to the channel, but this has happened for a very long time. It's been said quite often that women would rather share a high value alpha than be straddled with a faithful loser. In situations like that, all women kind of want the same thing. Again, you know, top shelf guy, tall, competent, good looking, is a good provider, quote unquote, as she says. It sounds like they've been together forever. They have a great life, a great family, and they travel. And he's involved in all the pictures. You see the guy there and he's with his kids and he clearly loves them, but he's craving some variety. And women get very hung up on this. One of the things that absolutely grinds my gears, and it's a hill that I'll die on, is I see a lot of women untying the knot and leaving a marriage over a minor indiscretion. A guy makes a mistake and as he's traveling hooks up with somebody and word gets back to her. I'll get into why that's an issue in a little bit, but women will then take that as an opportunity to say, F this guy, he's such a horrible person, I'm gonna get divorced now and find somebody that's loyal and take the kids and half of his stuff, and I don't need to put up with his crap either. And it's very common. And what ends up happening is she's 30 something. She's not at her peak anymore. She's not as attractive anymore as she was in her early 20s. She's now got kids in tow from a prior relationship. So that looks like a liability to future relationships or future men that might contemplate her. And then she tries to hit the road running with this newfound quote unquote freedom and life. And she gets to try to find this new Mr. Right, who is supposedly, or should, as she expects, to look past the fact that she was married prior, that she has kids from that relationship, and that she's also got the expectations that this new guy sort of like step up and play the role of a committed, loyal sort of guy that might even adopt or become a step parent to these kids. And it usually doesn't play out that way. What usually ends up happening is she leaves the guy, takes half of his shit, through family courts and the hostility that's involved around that. She leverages it to maximize and optimize her hypergamy and get as much money as she can out of the guy so that she's looked after. She usually goes for custody because she gets more money when she's got custody. That's why I mentioned earlier, they often alienate the father from their own children. And what ends up happening is he basically sees his wealth robbed from him, and she basically tells the story to the kids of what a piece of garbage he is, and they sort of like go down that path of acrimony and difficulty, and it's like, it's not good. This particular gal has, it looks like 3 small children, probably all under the age of 7 or 8, and otherwise looking like a very happy family. She seems like she really likes the guy, but she doesn't like the idea of him exercising some options, if we can put it that way. You know, it's been said many times, and I've covered this, that women need to kind of decide, especially when it comes to top shelf men, what it is that they're willing to compromise on. They all want a handsome guy that's rich and loyal, and I think women need to figure out what it is that they want and what they're willing to make concessions on, it's kind of like pick two. Because if he's rich and handsome, he's probably not loyal. If he's rich and loyal, he's probably not handsome, sort of thing. And it's like next to impossible for a woman to find a guy that's willing to commit to them and give her all three of those things in perpetuity. And the truth of the matter is too, as well, is that when men find themselves in situations where they give women all of that commitment, including the exclusivity, what they usually find over time, and I talk about this in my new book that's coming out later on this year, is that they get punished for it. They get treated worse over time. She's less enthusiastic about him. There's less intimacy. The intimacy that does happen is fewer and further in between. It's more conventional. There's too much familiarity. There's too much proximity. There's too many things that sort of come along with that. So my advice to this gal is essentially don't ruin a good marriage and a good family over a guy that wants to discreetly, safely exercise some optionality on the side without embarrassing her. For a lot of women, it's like the notion of embarrassment. I think if guys make it clear, and again, this isn't for everybody. I understand some people are going to be mad. You're a cheat in your life. It's like, what kind of man are you? It's like, that's not religious. Whatever. Get mad in the comments all you want. The fact that you're getting mad, like a bomber only gets flak when it's over the target. So I'm sorry that you're pissed off. I'm not actually, but you're pissed off. It is what it is. This is the world that we live in. This is the way things have pretty much always operated. Top shelf men that had optionality would often exercise it. And you know what, guys? Even if you have optionality, or even if you leave things open on your end on the intimacy level, because you can give a woman commitment while separating sexual exclusivity, if I can put it that way. You can give her 100% commitment, your love, your attention, family events, show up for birthdays, travel, holidays, all that stuff, so she can get her beautiful Instagram photographs and her world looks good. She holds out to the public, but every once in a while he gets a little bit of exercise. But even if he doesn't, one of the things that most men learn the hard way is that even if you give her full commitment right across the board, it's more often than not unwise to overtly declare or to make it clear that she's got full sexual exclusivity. Because even if it's there, like, things just don't go well over the long term. Women behave differently once they've got you fully locked down. One of the easiest ways for women to evaluate guys is to take a look at who likes the guy, who's in his proximity. Are attractive women interested in him, somewhat flirty with him, overtly flirty with him? Are other men praising him, seeking his approval, seeking his guidance or his mentorship? When women see that sort of stuff, then they look at the guy and they're like, oh, well, other people have sort of evaluated this man and they see him as value, so he must be valuable. So I will now give him my attention, or I'll give him my commitment, or I'll ask for his deepest, most committed options to me specifically. And most guys will just go and give it like away. They'll just throw away everything just because she asked for it. Because men love women, and that's what they do. Men want to make their woman happy. They want to make their wives, their girlfriends, whatever is happy, and they try to do that. But what ends up happening is they give her too much. There's too much proximity. There's too much familiarity. There's 100% exclusivity. And just over time, he just becomes less attractive. She's got surety that he's just with her. She knows his exact schedule and his whereabouts all the time. And things just start to go downhill. And I'm not surprised that this guy is asking for some level of openness on his end. And I think, for the most part, this guy's not asking. He's basically saying, this is what I'm going to do. And that's just the way that it's going to be. And she doesn't like the idea, so she's asking for some feedback, maybe some guidance based on my content and the stuff that she's seen, which is fine. And I would tell pretty much every gal the same thing. I mean, look, as long as he's not starting another family, putting your health at risk, embarrassing you, taking this mistress or whatever off to one of your family locales, vacation destinations, a restaurant that you've taken your wife and family to, sort of thing, and sharing those experiences with some bimbo, for example, that embarrassment doesn't exist. She doesn't want some other woman, knocking on her front door and be like, surprise, I've got your husband's kid in my belly, sort of thing. That's not what she wants. She doesn't want that embarrassment. It's really something that pisses women off, and lying to them too. And the vast majority of you guys out there that are getting mad, I'm a loyal man, that's not you religious, but it's like saying that you're loyal without having options. You're not loyal. You have an absolute lack of options. So saying that you're a committed man, or a man of some religion or some faith or something that stops you from doing any of these, it's me, you can't do bad advice, Rich, I'm unsubscribing, whatever. Saying that you're committed when you lack optionality is not commitment. If no other woman wants you, if no other woman expresses interest in you, you don't have the optionality, so you can't suggest that you're a better person or of higher moral virtue. That's just the way things are. I think that it's not a hill for women to die. I don't think that if this guy is there, and like you see in the Instagram photographs, he's traveling, he's paying for shit. She drives a nice Range Rover. Her life is taken care of. The roof over their heads is always there. When they go out, the credit card works. There's no problem with debt or other issues. She's not embarrassed. There's no issues with health and stuff like that. It's like, it is good. The worst thing that you can do to your family, and especially your kids, is remove the father from that household, alienate him from his own children because you're a strong, independent boss girl that thinks that you're going to teach him a lesson and do better. You're not. You're going to end up, more often than not, screwing up those kids over what? Over what, really? Men and women are completely different. And then people go, well, if he can do it, then she can do it too. She can if she wants, and I know that there's a lot of people out there in this world today that subscribe to ethical non-monogamy and poly type of relationships. What's good for the goose is good for the gander sort of thing. And men and women are very different. I've said this a million times. We're not the same. And trying to take a tool out of the toolbox that men might use and apply it to a woman's life doesn't work. But women are, look, I can't put it any other way, but when a guy steps out, it's cheating. When a woman steps out, it's a betrayal. And I'll explain why again. The first thing that a woman asks if she discovers that a guy has stepped out on the marriage and has a relationship, quote unquote, with another woman, or had an extracurricular activity with another woman, whether it was one time or multiple times, whatever it happens to be, the first thing that she wants to know is not, did you do it? How many times did you do it? How was she? None of those things. She wants to know, did you love her? Okay, you did those things, but did you love her? That's what she wants to know. Because from an evolutionary perspective, she doesn't want to lose access to resources, provisioning, protection, attention, the important stuff that ensures her survival and that of her children. She's not working, remember. She's a stay-at-home mom. She raises the kids. He brings home the bacon. She cooks it up. That would be catastrophic, especially thousands of years ago. Today we have government and family programs and child benefits and alimony and child support and all this shit with family law. So thousands of years ago, it might have spelled catastrophe for most women. Today, the firmware hasn't changed. So the notion of catastrophe still exists, but like in their mind, but it's not a real issue anymore because of all of these things that are in place with family law and government, all that. Women will be taken care of. There's no question about that. But they still have that notion in their head, and that's why she's worried, is this guy going to fall in love with her? That's what they're concerned about. That's why it's the first thing they ask. When a woman steps out on a guy, first thing he wants to know is, did you bang him? Because women have 100% assurance in the instant of intimacy that she's pregnant with that child. She always knows that she's the mother. Men never know with 100% assurance that they're the father because they're not carrying the child. And if you want a really interesting book, Sperm Wars by Robin Baker, go look it up. It's going to completely change your view of relationships. It's kind of blackpilling, if I'm being honest. I should probably do like a full video breaking that one down. But if we're being honest, it's a enlightening deep dive down this rabbit hole of craziness when it comes to relationships and intimacy and a lot of the duplicity that happens when it comes to those moments between men and women. But again, men and women are different. Men can actually do these things and not get attached and just do it as like a casual or recreational as they're traveling, as they're at a conference. I've talked to thousands and thousands of guys now on my private consults. You can book me if you want to find me on my website. It's just richcooper.ca. And there's lots of guys out there, again, top shelf, successful, they make a lot of money, and they exercise some optionality. I think the big thing in this situation is just be honest about it. I'm fully committed to you and this family and our children, if that happens to be the case. But you can only have 99% of my sexual exclusivity, and just make that clear. And that's just the way it's going to be. She's not going to like it. It's probably something she's not going to be enthusiastic about. There are some women that are into that kind of stuff. Most of them aren't. But the vast majority of women, if they see you as a top shelf guy, if they see you as their hypergamous best option, aren't going to leave you. It's only the stupid ones that thinks that they're going to do better, that are drunk on the Kool-Aid of toxic feminism, of, oh, he's a horrible person, you should just go and destroy his life, divorce him, take all of his shit, and never let him see the kids and tell the kids stories about what an awful father he was. So again, you go back to the social media post and it's like, this guy's clearly an awesome father. He's present, he's loving, he's showing experiences to the family, to the children, to his wife. She's well looked after. The kids are all well looked after. You know what I'm saying here? And that's basically what I gave her. And she said, you're right. I'm not going to make a mountain out of a molehill. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. I know there's going to be some controversy over this one. Some will disagree. Maybe most of you will probably disagree, but there's a lot of you that are probably going to look at this and be like, never really thought about it that way. That's a different perspective. That's interesting. Pin in the top comment below. There's a bunch of useful stuff, including my school community, which starts at $49 a month. Lots of really useful content in there that's private. I've never published anywhere else. I do regular Zoom calls. I have teams of experts in there that help you with investing, improving your social media presence, LinkedIn resume writing, a whole bunch of cool stuff. Go check that out. That's called the School of Unplugging. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.